So I've been watching the clips of the interview that's come out today of Deli Ali with his interview with Gary Neville on the overlap, and I just wanted to share a few of my thoughts. Now, firstly, let me just start by saying I hope that Deli Ali has done this because it's part of his healing journey and he feels like laying it all out there gives him the opportunity to be able to then draw a bit of a line and move forward with it. I know how powerful that can be on a healing journey. And when I saw it, like firstly, I felt really upset for him and I felt like really gutted for him. And then I was like really fucking angry that throughout the whole time that you've watched Deli Ali's career and the things that have happened with him, it's not new to the public that his mum was an alcoholic, right? And every single thing you see being said about Deli Ali in his struggles throughout his career, it fucking never gets mentioned. Nobody ever mentions it. Nobody ever talks about it. Nobody ever says like, you know, that we know that he's had this difficult upbringing. We know that his mum was an alcoholic. We know that he was adopted when he was young. It never gets brought up. It's almost like it's, well, that's in the fucking past. You know, that's when you was a kid. It don't matter anymore. And it pains me. It pains me that a young man or a young human, anybody, has to go to this length, has to literally go into the detail of the traumas that he experienced when he was younger before anybody listens with a bit of fucking compassion. And I want to go a step further as well, because I remember a while back when Deli's struggles with his career first started happening. And let's bear in mind, by the way, as a bit of a side point, this guy's not been horrible to people, right? He's not taken his abuse when he was a child and gone out and been abusive himself. We certainly have no evidence of that right now, yeah? This is a guy who has fallen apart, whose life has fallen down around him in front of our very eyes. And it feels like to me, nobody at any point has thought, this is a bit fucking strange. But to go back to what I was saying, I want to talk about when his mum come out, yeah? Now my content, everybody knows what my content is about. I talk about toxic parents and stuff like that. And so I went back and pulled up the article, and I'm going to just talk about this article here from In the Mirror that I want to just share some of the things that are said in it with you. This is an exclusive from 2018, February 2018. Deli Ali's estranged parents' tearful plea for England star to let them back into his life. I'm not going to go back into what Deli Ali has said in the interview. Go and watch it yourself, right? I'll put the link in the comments here, so if you do want to go and watch it. But he talks about abuse, sexual abuse at the hands of his mum's friend. When his mum was an alcoholic, abuse used to happen at the hands of her friend. Now, listen, before I go on to read this, it's hard for me to, I have to be careful, yeah, to go off of newspaper articles and stuff like that, right? I don't know the full situation. I think we should always tread carefully. But I'm going to read out some of the quotes in here, and I'm trusting that the Mirror has put them in quote marks. I'm not going to read any of the Mirror's views on it or how they framed it. I'm just going to read some of the quotes from his mum. So Deli's mum said, "I am a very miserable person because I get so sad that Deli is missing out on his family and we're missing out on him. It still leaves me shocked." She's shocked. His poor mum, his poor alcoholic mum who used to invite a friend in to his house who molested him, who fucking, she then went away, she then sent him away to Africa to learn discipline. An abused child sent away to Africa. Isn't this classic of a toxic parent, by the way, and the stuff that I talk about? They always fucking talk about, you know, this need for discipline, and they all lack discipline. They don't lack discipline, children of parents like this. They are reacting to the world the best way that they know how as a result of the things that they are experiencing. Denise says, his mum, "It's been said that I was suffering from alcoholism and I gave him up because I couldn't look after him. But this is a lie. I wanted to give him the best chance of achieving his dream, but he was still my son and I was there for him whenever he needed me." This, right, is a fucking smear campaign, by the way, yeah? This is someone who was abused, right? When the very person that should have been keeping him safe was bringing someone into his home to fucking molest him, right? And the smear campaign here, now that he doesn't want anything to do with her or can't be in that space yet, and maybe he will one day. Maybe he'll find forgiveness, right? And become one of these fucking spiritual gurus that you see on Instagram that want forgiveness. Maybe he'll do that, and that's up to him, and everybody has their own journey, right? But while he's estranged, she's not talking about how horrible it was. She's not talking about how difficult it must be for him and how she wants to support him through it and how she wants to start a healing journey together. She's just saying it was a lie, and he was still her son, and she was there whenever he needed him. He was never adopted by his friend's parents. I would not have allowed it. My kids are my world, she says. And Deli Ali, by the way, goes on to say in this interview, he talks about how the parents that adopted him when he was 12, 13 were like the amazing. I think he says something along the lines of, if God created humans, then he created people like that because they were just so incredible. But the damage was already done. Yeah, the damage was already done by this woman who 4 or 5 years ago is in the papers talking about how fucking horrible it is for her. Yeah, like these types of people do. Wiping away copious tears, Denise recalls, I don't have a ticket for the game, but I went to the ground because I wanted to try and see Deli. I waited outside after the match, and when Deli came out, I silently said to him, Deli, it's me, your mum. He didn't stop, he just looked at me, said he was busy, and drove off. I was in tears. It was heartbreaking. Nothing about Deli Ali, a child who's abused, had to be adopted, was sent away to Africa, right? Nothing about Deli Ali and about reaching him. Nothing about responsibility. Nothing about wanting to make it right. Nothing about her part in this whole story. Just a smear campaign, a subtle smear campaign of a poor, grieving mum who has had a child cut her off seemingly for no reason. Yes, she had her problems, yeah, but she's not talking about any of the reality here. And Deli Ali, at the hands of a smear campaign here, at the hands of a fucking abusive smear campaign, because that's what a smear campaign is, right at the end of this, I'm not going to read any more of this, yeah? Right at the end of this, Deli Ali said he had no comment to make on his parents' claim. What does Deli Ali do? Despite the fact that in his recent interview that's just come out now, he's talked about addiction to sleeping pills, right? He's talked about his own struggles, his career, as we can see at the moment, has found itself in the toilet. He's got parents out there who are talking about how this is all him and they just don't know what they could have done differently despite everything that we've talked about. What does Deli Ali do when he's asked to talk about it? Deli Ali said he had no comment to make on his parents' claim. And that's what an abused person does. They make no comment. Because when the smear campaign happens in the way that it happens like that, when you've grown up with parents like that, yeah, and you exist in a world who wants you to fucking love them no matter what, because that's the world that we live in, yeah, what do? You are forced into silence. You are forced into silence until, like what I hope has happened now, you reach a place where you feel like you're on your healing journey and you have enough strength and you have enough power in you to say, you know what, I've made some fucking silly decisions. I've messed up really badly, but I want to work towards healing. I hope we learn from this. We won't. I hope we learn from this. I hope people see this interview and start to realize the impact of what it's like to grow up with a toxic or difficult parent in dysfunction. How it is to try and navigate your life. How, as a fucking society, we seem to support and only have the back of the parent, the poor, grieving parent all of the time, yeah? And it takes a young man to sit on a fucking TV program like that and pour out his heart of all of his trauma that he's been dealing with for everyone to go, shit, man. Shit, man, the way you've been acting makes total sense. I think it was obvious. We knew his mum was an alcoholic. She admitted it herself in 2018. The way that he was reacting, is he a spoiled brat that we should all just put down? Or should we have looked a little bit deeper and looked at that story and gone, hang on a minute. Hang on a minute, something don't add up here. That's what we need to do more of. That's why I've made the video. I wish Deli and all of the family the best of luck. If his mum is anything like some of the toxic parents that I've supported people with, then maybe I don't wish her much luck. But I hope that Deli finds peace, and I fucking hope he gets back in his career and gets back to getting the accolades that he deserves.